Hi there, welcome back to my channel. It's been a while since I recorded. I know it's been a while since I posted a video, but life has been difficult somehow. I've been feeling a bit low and just it's been difficult to focus on knitting and recording. So I've been wanting to connect with people, be out of the house and be with friends. So that's what I've been doing, and that means that there hasn't been much time left to knit and to record. But I have quite a lot of ideas for videos, so don't worry. They'll come to you, just maybe a little bit slower than I wished, but they'll be out. So today I wanted to try. I've been on a bit of a knitting slump, and I wanted to try and get out of that knitting slump by doing some exercises and some experiments. So you've heard me talk about the crazy loop fur by, and I'm going to butcher her name again, Lærke Bagger. And it's the jacket featured on the front of her book. And it's a jacket that I've been wanting to knit for a long time, but it terrifies me because I know it's going to be a long process to knit this jacket. I know it's going to use a lot of yarn. So that's the other thing. It's going to be expensive, and I think it's going to be quite a heavy jacket. And I wonder if I'm going to regret knitting it and not wanting to wear it, even though I love the idea of wearing it out. I think if it is too heavy, I'm not going to want knitting it. And I wanted to read you some parts of this book when it comes to this jacket. So she says, knit with 1, 2, or 3 strands of yarn. So that's the first thing. I don't know if I need to knit. If I can knit with 1 strand and if that'll give me a nice effect, or if I need to join several strands of yarn, which then means that I'm using even more yarn and having an even heavier jacket. And I wanted to use scrap yarn. I wanted to use yarn that I have in my stash, but I don't know if that's going to be possible. I think I'm going to start with a multicolored jacket and then end up having to buy a lot more yarn of the same brand if I can find it, to then continue the jacket. So it might be a little bit of a mess. But yeah, it is what it is. So then it says yarn requirements: at least 30 balls of Superwash Vital, which I don't know what it is, what brand it is, and at least 6 balls of Inca wool. So I know that the Superwash Vital, it says here, it's a 50 grams each ball of the wool, and the Inca wool is 100 grams. So the 100 grams of the Inca wool, it's 160 meters. So if we need 6 of that, that's well over, it's about 1,000 meters, I think. So 1,000 meters. That's crazy. That's 1 kilometer of yarn that you need to use. 1 kilometer of yarn. Okay. I don't know. What we're going to do today, I'm not going to start a jacket. There's no way I'm going to start a jacket. What I'm going to do is read the book very carefully, read the parts that mention this stitch pattern and this jacket very carefully. And then we're going to attempt a couple of swatches. So that's all we're going to do today. First, I'm going to swatch with one color only and see if I can get used to the pattern of like looping the stitches. And then we might need to get into some intarsia and try to make like some color pattern in a swatch. So that's what we're going to do. I think I might have to split this into 4 balls of yarn. So this is the yarn. I don't know if you can see. Hopefully you can see. This is the yarn that I selected to be part of this jacket. I know I'm gonna need a lot more than this, but for now this is what I have in my stash that I want to use up, and I want to combine these to have a very multicolored jacket. But I think I need to, it says to use up to 4 strands of yarn together. So I think I need to separate this into 4 strands of yarn. I don't know how I'm going to do that, but that might take a while to start with. So I'm going to do that. And then, or actually, instead of doing that, instead of ruining the yarn just yet, what I might do is I'm gonna try and knit with 4 strands of these multicolored yarn, and it might be a nice idea. It might be cool anyway. So I might do that and see how bulky my my swatch is. I also have some swatch idea here that the tension square swatch should be approximately 10 stitches with 13 rows with 4 strands in looped pile on size 7 needles. So that's the other thing. I don't know if I have 7 size needles. Should have checked before deciding to record this video. But yeah, I'm gonna check that first, and then I might join 4 strands of this yarn into one and try to knit with that this first swatch and see what I get. And then if I like that, and if I want to do like a blocked intarsia square, I might have to separate each ball of yarn into 4, so then I can knit with the 4 strands of yarn together. I hope that makes sense. So let's start. Let's first look for the needles, and then let's do the first swatch. I recorded a video knitting the first bit of swatch with 4 strands of yarn, and the footage is not good because I'm not used to recording from that angle. So I recorded it all offside, you know, like my hands were to a side, and then I wasn't showing very well the knitting because I'm not used to like knit for the camera. Like I put the knitting towards me. So anyway, I think the footage, I'll insert some here, but it's not very good. And yeah, I think what the conclusion I got was that 4 strands of yarn might be too much. Another conclusion was that the colors like that together were not the best. Like I didn't really love it. So I think I want to do in a block manner. So one color, taking one block of the swatch and then another color. But before I do that, I would have to separate the yarn into 3 or 4 parts, depending on how many strands I'm gonna knit with. So instead, I'm going to knit it all again with 3 strands of yarn instead of 4 strands of yarn. And then I'm gonna see how that looks like. And then I'm gonna make a decision, separate the yarn into either 4 bits or 3 bits, and then start swatching again so I can make like intarsia blocks with the knitting. So yeah, that's the plan. So I casted on 20 stitches. The swatch calls for 10 stitches, but I'm casting on 20 because that gives me a bit more of playground to then measure and decide how many stitches correspond to the swatch in the pattern. And I have casted on the 20 stitches with 3 strands of yarn, which is these 3 colors. I've already decided I don't want to use the colors like this. I want to use like part one color, part another color. But for now, we're going to try and swatch this like that. So the first stitch, it's supposed to be an edge stitch, and my edge stitch usually is just slipping the stitch knitwise. She teaches a stitch called butt stitch or edge stitch, and I couldn't make that work because every time I try to do it, it falls off the needle, the stitch. So it just unravels the cast on underneath it, and I tried it after a few rows as well, and it just unravels the stitch that I'm trying to knit. So I'm not going to try the butt stitch anymore. I'm going to just do my normal edge stitch, which is slip the stitch knitwise. So let's do that. And then you're supposed to knit one stitch and then do the loop stitch in the next. And then do the next row would just be purls. And then the third row would be the same knit and purl, knit and loop, sorry, but intercalated with the first row. So let's start with our first row. So the first stitch I'm going to knit. I'm trying to rotate my hands so that you can see what I'm doing, but it's actually really hard because I'm not used to this loop stitch. So the loop stitch now is, I'm going to insert the needle as to knit. I'm knitting Portuguese style with the strand around my neck and everything. So the way I insert the needle might not be the way you insert the needle, but that's okay. So we're going to knit this stitch and then we're not going to remove it from the left needle just yet. We're going to bring the yarn, do a loop here, bring the yarn back where it was, and then knit that stitch again. Okay, hopefully you can see. Knit that stitch again. I'm going to relieve my finger from here so I can finish this stitch. Okay, and now we're taking it off the left needle, pulling the loop a little bit. And now let's remove the yarn from here just so I can see a little better. I have 2 stitches instead of 1, so I have to pass the right one over the left one so then I just have the one. So let's do that. This is a little bit easier with the 3 strands than the 4 strands, but still it is a little bit difficult. It takes a while to get used to it. But yeah, I have the first loop, which is really nice, and now the next stitch is a knit stitch. So let's knit that normal way, and now again we do the loop again. So I'm going to insert the needle as to knit, knit the stitch, pull the yarn. Do not take the needle from the left needle. Bring the yarn up in the front, make the loop, knit the stitch again. Okay. Oh, it is hard. It gets really tense. It drops, especially with the three strands of yarn. Now remove the stitch from the left needle. Let me pull the yarn a little bit more. Pull the loop and then go back and take this stitch and pass it over the left one. Okay, 2 loops now. Okay, I'm going to continue this way. I'm going to do a little bit of the swatch, and then we'll come back and assess what we think of the swatch with the 3 strands instead of the 4 strands. Okay, I finished the swatch with the 3 strands knit together, and this is what it looks like. So this is 10 rows and 20 stitches, and I think the 3 strands together, it gives a nice effect. I don't think I need the 4 strand together, and that way hopefully I can save some yarn by just knitting with the 3 strands. I love the effect. It's exactly what I wanted, and I think in the overall jacket it's going to look really nice. I don't I mean, the loops could be a bit longer, but I think it looks nice like this. So I got quite used to knitting the loop like this. So I think they're quite consistent, and I'm gonna keep knitting it like this. I'm not gonna make any attempts to lengthen the loop a little bit more. What I'm gonna do, because I want to try the intarsia, so I wanna make blocks of color. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take the yarn, weight it, see how many grams this is, and then make 3 balls of yarn of the same weight, you know, so divide this with 3 equal amounts of yarn, and then I can knit the 3 strands of the same color together. And for that, I think first I'm going to frog this, so I'm not going to keep this going because it's a lot of yarn that this uses, and I might need to use as much as I can of what I have before I want to, you know, I don't necessarily want to buy more yarn for this project. So if I can use up everything I've got before I go ahead and buy more yarn, that would be fantastic. So I'm going to frog this. I'm going to weight the yarn, and then I'm going to make the balls of the same size. And then I'm going to re-knit this swatch. Okay, so I finished work. It's the next day. Yesterday was Sunday when I was showing you the swatches. Today's Monday. I just finished work, had a shower, and I'm not afraid to say that I'm wearing pajama underneath this jumper. The other thing I wanted to mention is that from now on, throughout winter, the lighting on these videos is going to be crap because it's 5 p.m. or 5:30, I don't know, and the sun is going down, so there's no natural light anymore. And the only time I can record these during the week is after work. So that's just something, that's the reality of my life, and we just have to accept it. Anyway, I have my scale. It's not a kitchen scale, it's like a precision scale. I originally bought this for candle making. I made a few candles a few years ago for Christmas, to gift on Christmas. I bought this on Amazon, I think. I don't remember. And then I have my yarn. So I'm gonna weight this, do the maths of how much that is divided by 3, and then I'm gonna start rolling up balls of yarn, small balls of yarn. Knitting this swatch now, and this is how far I've got. Okay, hopefully you can see it. I managed to introduce 2 colors already, and I like it a lot. It doesn't look great on video, but it looks very nice in person. And I want to continue and introduce the other 2 colors and do like a bigger swatch. And then I think I need to do some proper thinking about this jacket. Like, am I going to do it? What colors am I going to use? I already know I don't have enough yarn, but I can get more of the same colors. Do I want these colors? Yeah, let's continue with the swatch. I think I'm done for today. I don't feel like doing anything more, but tomorrow I hopefully can pick it up again and then let you know once I finish the swatch. Actually, I forgot to talk a little bit about this yarn. This is the yarn I'm using for the Glastonbury jumper, which I introduced, I think, in the first video I recorded. I'm knitting that jumper with a lot of acrylic yarn. It's mostly, I think, Stylecraft DK, special DK, something like that. At the time when I started knitting that jumper, I was you know, started to knit and crochet, and I didn't have a lot of confidence picking more expensive yarns, and I didn't know, you know, what kind of yarns there were out there. So I went for the very cheap acrylic yarn, which I don't tend to use anymore as much. But you know, I don't want to sound like a snob, a yarn snob. There's nothing wrong with using acrylic yarn. I just prefer to have natural fibers in my knits. But for that Glastonbury jumper, it made sense to use acrylic yarn because I had to buy so many colors, and as I said, I didn't have a lot of confidence buying natural fibers. So I picked a bunch of acrylic yarns. I think it was mostly Stylecraft, as I said. I have spreadsheet somewhere with all the names of the yarns, so I could try and go back and see what colors I'm using for this swatches, and then maybe buy some more of that. But I probably will use acrylic for this jacket if I ever make it, and that's because it's a lot of yarn, so I don't necessarily want to drop that much money on a jacket. And the other reason is if I knit it in a natural fiber like wool, it's probably going to be very, very warm anyway, and then I have to hand wash it, which is not something I want to use with such a heavy garment. So I probably will use acrylic yarn anyway, but I need to have a think of the colors. This is something I need to plan very carefully if I'm going to put that much work into something. And it's going to be such a statement piece, you know, something that to wear in special occasions. It's not something I'm going to be wearing every day. So I need to have a proper think about colors for this one. The projects I saw on Ravelry are mostly with scrap yarn. So one overall color and then scrappy yarn in the middle, which is a technique that she uses quite a lot in her knits. And I like that quite a lot. And I like especially with the white background, but I don't necessarily want to do that myself because I don't think I want a white jacket, mostly because it's going to get dirty very quickly. I know myself. So I like the color blocking intarsia kind of look, and I like the colors I picked so far. So I have to think. It's planning I need to do after I knit the swatches. This morning I came to the living room to find this. So it's a nice art installation by my cat. Hope you enjoy it. Yeah, you. It was you. It was you. I finished the last swatch and I'm pretty pleased with the results. I think the loops look really nice. The length of the loops look really nice, and I'm trying to imagine this as a full jacket, and I think it's going to be a really nice thing to wear. One thing that I'm kind of considering is that maybe it needs some white to break the colors. So I inspired for this kind of like color block scheme, I inspired myself in the picture on the cover of the book, which does have some white and some beige. So I'm wondering if I should try and knit something like this instead of just the colors. But one thing that I'm sure is that this project is going to require a lot of planning because it's a huge amount of yarn. It is slow. I mean, it is chunky knit because of the 3 strands of yarn knit together. So it is chunky, and in that sense it does go fast, but then the loops take up a considerable amount of time to make, so it's not as quick as any other chunky knit. And the other thing is I don't know if I enjoyed the process that much. I don't know, it wasn't just like standard knitting. In fact, it's been a few days since I last recorded a clip. And that's because I just wasn't feeling knitting these swatch. So I think if I end up knitting this jacket, it's going to be because I want the end product and not because I think I'm going to take a lot of joy in the process of making it, which is something to consider for sure. Another thing to consider is, do I want to use the same yarn, which is the Stylecraft Special DK yarn. In one way, it'll be good to use that yarn because one is machine washable, so I can just throw the jacket in the washing machine and wash it like that. But in another way, it's also good because there's plenty of yarn to order more. So if I just buy a limited amount of yarn to start with, and then I decide that I don't have enough yarn, I can just go and buy the same colors again. And even if they're like slightly different dye lots, that shouldn't make much of a difference with this style of cardigan. But I don't know if it looks a bit cheap. Do you know what I mean? Like the fact that it's so much acrylic, I don't know if I'm gonna love the final product as much as the pictures I've seen in this book. I also had a look at Ravelry and the projects that were being made. There aren't a lot of projects of this jacket, go figure why, because it's probably a beast of a project to make. I also had a look on YouTube, and there's one girl who recorded a video doing exactly the same process as I did, like swatching and planning. But there isn't a lot out there for me to take inspiration from. So this is not a project I'm going to cast on straight away and start buying loads of yarn for this. I think I need to sit with it and see how much I would enjoy making it and see if I want to spend that much money on this. So yeah, but nonetheless, I think it was fun to try it on. It's something that's been on my mind for a long time. I bought this book maybe like 2 years ago, and I bought it specifically for this pattern. So it was nice to try the stitch anyway, and it was nice to make the swatch. I think I'm going to save this swatch. I cut the yarn, so I'm going to save it, and then maybe I'll reuse the yarn or not, but for now I'm just going to keep this. I haven't blocked it. I haven't felt the need to block it. I don't think the jacket is going to be very easy to block anyway, so I don't know if I knitted the jacket, if I would then block it. So I think I need to have a proper think, sit with it. I'm preparing a new video where I'm finishing whips, all my works in progress. I'm finishing them and showing you the process of finishing them. And then once I finish those, there's other projects I would like to cast on. So this is going to be on standby for a bit because I need to have a proper think. Anyway, let me know what you thought of it. Did you enjoy this video? Something a little bit different. If you did enjoy it, consider giving me a like, maybe leaving a comment, subscribing to the channel. Yeah, let me know what you thought, and I will keep thinking about it and make a decision of whether or not I want to knit this. But yeah, stay tuned because next video, I don't know when it's going to come out, but it's either going to be my whips project, which should be in a few weeks time because it takes time to finish that, or it'll be something like a destash, where I go through my yarn and decide what I want to take out and what I want to keep. But yes, thank you for watching, and I hope you are making something you enjoy making. I hope you're having fun in any way possible, and I'll see you on the next video. Bye!